The cave was large and quiet. It was so big that even the tall aliens looked small inside it. The walls shone with faint light from crystals, and the air was heavy and warm. This was not an ordinary cave. It was the sacred resting place of the Dragon Mother, the greatest of all dragons. Orin, the Dragon Master, walked at the front. He was a wise and calm figure, known for guiding caretakers who studied the dragons. His long robe brushed the stone floor as he carried a lantern of silver light. Behind him walked a group of alien caretakers, their eyes lowered in respect. They had come to see the Dragon Mother for one last time. At the very back of the group was a small human girl named Myra. She had begged to come along. The others had laughed at first, saying she was too small and too young, but Orin allowed her because she was curious and eager to learn. Myra was unlike the others. She skipped sometimes when she walked and kept looking at every corner of the glowing cave as if each stone was a treasure. At last, they reached the center of the cavern. There she was, the Dragon Mother. Her body was vast, filling most of the chamber. Her scales were pale and dull, no longer shining with the rainbow glow they once carried. Her wings lay folded like great blankets of stone. Her eyes were closed, and no breath seemed to move her chest. The caretakers knelt. A heavy silence filled the air. Even Myra, who usually could not stay still for long, stood frozen. She had never seen something so large and so beautiful. Orin stepped forward and lifted his lantern. He looked closely at the Dragon Mother's face and then at her chest. He waited for a sign, a breath, a stir of movement, but there was nothing. The air around her was still. At last, he lowered his head. His voice echoed gently in the cavern. "She is gone," Orin said. "The Dragon Mother has left us." The words made the caretakers bow even lower. Their hearts felt heavy. The dragons were more than great creatures. They were guardians, and the Dragon Mother was the oldest and the strongest. Without her, the world felt empty. Myra tilted her head. She did not bow. Instead, she stared at the Dragon Mother's nostrils. She thought she saw a little shimmer of warmth, but maybe it was just the lantern light. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. The others were already whispering prayers, but Myra's thoughts were different. She tugged at Orin's robe. "Master," she said softly, "are you sure she is gone?" Orin looked down at the small girl. He had kind eyes, but they were tired. "Yes, little one," he said. "Even dragons cannot stay forever." Myra frowned. She walked a few steps closer to the Dragon Mother, her small shoes tapping on the stone floor. The caretakers gasped quietly. "Do not go too near," one of them whispered, but Myra did not stop. Something inside her was pulling her forward, like a gentle hand guiding her. She stood right before the Dragon Mother's giant nose. The nostrils were as tall as she was. She placed her hands on her hips and studied them carefully. She thought again of what she had seen. Maybe it was only her imagination, but she felt sure there had been a soft shimmer. "Maybe she is only sleeping," Myra whispered to herself. The cave was silent except for the sound of dripping water in the distance. Orin was about to tell Myra to step back when she did something unexpected. She reached out with her tiny finger and gently poked the Dragon Mother's nostril. For a moment, nothing happened. The caretakers shook their heads. One of them almost laughed, thinking it was only a child's foolish play. But then, Myra felt it. A soft puff of warm air brushed against her hand. Her eyes widened. She took a small step back, her face bright with surprise. "She is breathing," Myra said. Her voice was not loud, but it carried through the cave like a spark. The caretakers gasped and looked up. Oren's eyes grew wide. He quickly stepped closer and raised his lantern again. Yes, there it was, so faint it was easy to miss. The chest of the dragon mother rose a little, then fell again, like the slow tide of the sea. No one spoke for several moments. The silence was heavy, but this time it was not the silence of sorrow. It was the silence of wonder. Oren turned to Myra. "How did you know?" he asked quietly. Myra shrugged. "I did not know," she said. "I just felt it." The caretakers whispered among themselves, their voices full of disbelief and awe. They had studied dragons for many years, yet none of them had seen the faint breath. It was the little human girl who noticed, when all others had already given up. Oren stood still, staring at the dragon mother. His mind was troubled. If the dragon mother still lived, why had she remained so still, so silent, that even he could not sense her? And why had only Myra felt the warmth of her breath? The silver lantern flickered as if it, too, was unsure what to believe. The great cavern seemed less heavy now, filled with a new kind of air. Something had changed. The dragon mother was not gone. She was still here. And somehow, a little human girl had been the one to find her. The cavern was no longer still. A faint breath rose and fell in the chest of the dragon mother, and it changed everything. The caretakers stared in disbelief. Oren held his silver lantern high, his hand trembling slightly. None of them had expected this. Myra stood close to the great dragon's nose, her small hand still warm from the soft puff of air. She did not seem afraid. Instead, her eyes shone with wonder. "She is alive," Myra whispered again, her voice soft but sure. The caretakers began to speak to one another in hurried tones. "It cannot be. We felt no life. Her scales are dim. We saw no movement." Their words tangled together, filled with confusion. Oren raised his hand, and the whispers fell silent. His gaze rested on the child. "Step back, Myra," he said gently. "The dragon mother is not as she once was. We do not know why she sleeps so deeply." But Myra shook her head. "She is only tired," she said with the simple faith of a child. "I can tell." The caretakers looked at her, half troubled and half amazed. How could such a small human speak so easily about the greatest of dragons? Oren felt a weight in his chest. He had trained for many years to sense the faintest stirrings of dragon life, yet he had been blind. And here was a girl who saw it with her eyes and felt it with her heart. Myra turned back toward the dragon mother. She tilted her head, studying the giant nostrils again. Then she did something that startled everyone. She leaned closer and blew a soft breath into the nostril as if sharing her own air. The caretakers gasped. One of them stepped forward, ready to pull her back, but Oren lifted his hand. "Wait," he said. His voice was calm, though inside he wrestled with questions. He wanted to see what might happen. For a few moments, there was nothing. Then, faintly, a warm sigh answered Myra's breath. It was not strong, but it was enough to stir the dust on the cave floor. Myra giggled softly, delighted by the reply. "See," she said, turning to the others. "She heard me." Oren's eyes narrowed, but not in anger. He was thinking deeply. The caretakers whispered again, this time with awe instead of doubt. "She answered the girl." The dragon mother responded. "This is not chance." The lantern light danced across the dragon mother's scales. They were still dull, but now they seemed to catch a faint shimmer, as though a hidden glow was waiting beneath. Myra sat down cross-legged on the stone floor. She folded her hands and looked up at the dragon mother with calm patience. "I will wait with her," she said. "She needs someone to sit beside her." The caretakers shifted uneasily. They were used to rituals, chants, and measured steps. They were not used to a child sitting so simply before a being they considered holy. Yet there was something about the scene that kept them quiet. Oren lowered his lantern a little. His eyes softened as he watched. Perhaps there was truth in the child's way. Where the caretakers brought rules and knowledge, Myra brought warmth and trust. Minutes passed. The cave was filled with silence again, but this time it felt lighter. Then Myra began to hum a tune. It was a simple melody, one she had heard long ago when her grandmother sang her to sleep. The sound was gentle and soft, floating like a feather in the air. To everyone's surprise, the dragon mother stirred. It was only the faintest twitch, a small ripple through the giant body, but it was there. The caretakers clutched one another's arms. Oren's heart beat faster. Myra kept humming. Her voice was not strong, but it was clear and steady. The cavern carried the sound, making it echo as though many voices were joining her. A glow began to flicker faintly along the dragon mother's scales, like sparks waking from deep ash. Her chest rose again with another slow breath. This time, the sigh was longer and stronger, and it filled the air with warmth. Myra smiled. She stopped humming and whispered, "Good morning, Dragon Mother." The caretakers knelt in astonishment. Oren lowered himself as well, though his eyes never left the girl. He felt both humbled and uncertain. Why had the Dragon Mother answered a human child and not him, the Dragon Master? The lantern flickered once more, and then the flame grew brighter as if the very cave approved of what was happening. Oren finally spoke. "Myra," he said slowly, "what do you feel?" Myra looked at him with bright eyes. "I feel she is happy that someone is here. She was lonely in her sleep. She wanted a friend." The words were simple, but they struck Oren like a bell. Perhaps the Dragon Mother had not been waiting for chants or rituals. Perhaps she had been waiting for kindness, for a simple voice that cared. The caretakers were silent now. Their eyes shone with respect for the small girl who had done what none of them could. Myra leaned back against the Dragon Mother's nose and yawned, as if she had no fear at all. The great dragon gave another soft breath, warmer this time, almost like a gentle sigh of comfort. In that moment, Oren knew this was only the beginning. Something far greater was waking in the cave, not just the Dragon Mother but a connection no one had imagined. And at the heart of it was a little human girl with a curious mind and a kind heart. The cavern glowed with a new kind of light. It was not from the lantern in Oren's hand, nor from the crystals on the walls. It was a soft shimmer rising from the Dragon Mother's scales, faint but growing with each breath she took. The caretakers remained kneeling. They dared not move, for they felt they were standing at the edge of something great. Oren kept his eyes on the Dragon Mother, but his thoughts turned again and again to the small girl who sat so calmly beside her. Myra leaned against the dragon's nose as if resting against a warm pillow. She did not see a holy figure. She saw a friend. Her humming had stopped, but the sound still seemed to linger in the air, echoing gently. Then the cavern filled with another sound, low and deep. It was not spoken with words. It was more like a hum that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The caretakers gasped and bowed lower, their hands trembling. Oren held his breath, for he knew this sound. It was the inner song of a dragon. but never before had he heard it so clearly. Myra sat upright, her eyes wide. She heard it too, but not only with her ears. She felt it in her chest, in her heart, like a gentle rhythm. She smiled, and without thinking, she hummed back in the same soft tone. The dragon mother opened one of her great eyes. It was golden, with a light that seemed to stretch far beyond the cavern. That eye rested on Myra. Not on Orin, not on the caretakers, but only on the child. Myra laughed softly. "Hello," she whispered, as though greeting an old friend. The caretakers gasped again. They whispered among themselves in voices filled with wonder. She speaks to the dragon as if it is her equal. The mother listens to her. What does this mean? Orin silenced them with a gesture, though his own mind was spinning. He could not deny what was happening. The dragon mother had chosen to open her eye for a human child, not for him, the dragon master. The deep hum of the dragon mother continued. Myra tilted her head, listening. The sound painted pictures in her mind. She saw skies filled with dragons gliding together. She saw nests of young ones hidden in high cliffs. She saw stars shining above mountains where dragons once gathered in great numbers. Myra gasped. "You are showing me," she whispered. "You are telling me stories." Orin's eyes narrowed. He could not see what she saw, but he guessed from her words. The dragon mother was sharing memory through song, something only dragons were said to do with their kind. Yet now a human child was receiving it. The caretakers were in awe. "This is not possible," one of them murmured. "No human can share a dragon's memory." Myra clapped her hands in delight as another vision filled her mind. This time it was the image of a great egg glowing softly in the dark, watched over by the dragon mother with love. Myra's heart felt warm. She whispered, "You were lonely." The golden eye blinked slowly, as if agreeing. A faint rumble filled the cavern, not frightening but gentle, almost like a purr. The caretakers covered their mouths, stunned by the sight. Orin stepped closer. His lantern shook in his hand. "Myra," he said carefully, "what is she telling you?" Myra looked up at him with bright eyes. "She is not gone. She was only resting in deep stillness. She was waiting for someone to sing to her." The words made Orin's chest tighten. Waiting for someone to sing. Not for a master or a caretaker, not for a ritual or a prayer, but for a child who would hum a simple tune from the heart. The dragon mother's other eye opened now, and both golden eyes shone on Myra. The glow across her scales spread wider. Her breath came stronger, filling the air with warmth that wrapped around everyone like a blanket. The caretakers fell flat against the stone floor, overcome with awe. Orin, too, bowed his head. Yet his thoughts were heavy. He had devoted his life to the dragons, to learning their ways, to guiding others. And now the greatest of them had chosen not him but Myra. Still, as he lifted his head, he could not help but feel respect for the child. There was no pride in her, no sense of greatness. She only wanted to sit by the dragon and share kindness. Perhaps that was why the dragon mother listened. Myra reached out her hand and touched the warm scale beside her. It shimmered faintly at her touch. She smiled. "I will be your friend," she whispered. "You are not alone anymore." The dragon mother answered with another deep hum, and the whole cavern seemed to tremble with life. Orin closed his eyes. He understood then that something greater than knowledge had entered the cavern. It was not skill, not ritual, not authority. It was something simple and pure. A hidden connection between a small human and the mightiest dragon. and it was only the beginning. The cavern no longer felt like a tomb. It now felt alive. The glow of the crystals on the walls seemed brighter, as if they had been waiting for this moment. The dragon mother's chest rose and fell in steady rhythm, each breath filling the space with gentle warmth. Myra still sat beside her, humming softly. The sound was simple, yet it carried far, touching every corner of the chamber. The caretakers had never seen such a thing. They whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. She sings to the dragon mother. She is only a child, yet the mother listens. This must be a sign. Oren did not stop them. He stood with his lantern lowered, his eyes fixed on the girl and the dragon. His heart was heavy with questions. Why had the dragon mother answered a human child and not him, the dragon master? Still, he could not deny the truth before him. The dragon mother gave another deep hum, lower and longer than before. The sound rolled through the cavern like a great drum beat, but it was not frightening. It was calm and steady, like the rhythm of the sea. Myra's humming matched it without effort, as though she had known this song all her life. The caretakers bowed again, their foreheads touching the stone floor. They believed they were hearing something sacred. Oren stayed upright, watching carefully. His mind was torn between awe and unease. Myra closed her eyes. The hum filled her chest, and in her mind she saw pictures again. She saw a mountain glowing with fire at its heart. She saw dragons flying in circles around the peak, their wings shining like jewels. She saw the dragon mother at the center, her song holding them together. Myra opened her eyes and looked at the caretakers. She is singing about her people, she said. She misses them. The caretakers lifted their heads in shock. They had never heard a dragon's song explained in human words. Oren felt a shiver run through him. He had studied the dragon songs for years but had never been able to translate them. Now a child did it with ease. The dragon mother's hum grew softer, almost like a lullaby. Myra smiled. She is glad I am listening, she whispered. The golden eyes of the dragon mother blinked slowly. A faint shimmer spread across her wings. For the first time since she was found in silence, her body shifted slightly, stretching as though waking from a long rest. Dust fell from her scales, and the caretakers gasped again. Oren's lantern flame flickered brighter, reflecting the shimmer. He stepped closer, though he kept a respectful distance. His voice was steady but filled with wonder. Myra, do you understand what this means? Myra tilted her head. It means she was never gone, she said simply. She only needed someone to remind her of her song. Her words were plain, yet they struck deep. The caretakers whispered among themselves. Some called it a miracle. Others wondered if it was destiny. Oren raised his hand for silence. He studied the girl for a long moment, then spoke in a tone both gentle and firm. You must be careful, Myra. The dragon mother is mighty beyond measure. What you are doing is not small. It is something no one has ever done. But Myra only smiled and reached out again to touch the dragon's warm scale. I am only being a friend, she said. She is lonely. Friends help when you are lonely. The dragon mother answered with another breath, stronger this time. It swept through the cavern like a warm breeze. The caretakers lifted their heads, their eyes wide with awe. For the first time, Oren felt his heart soften. He still carried doubts, but he could not deny the bond forming before his eyes. Perhaps the dragons did not want masters or caretakers. Perhaps they wanted friends. Myra began humming again, and this time the dragon mother joined her fully. The deep hum and the light child's tune rose together, weaving a harmony that filled the cavern. The sound was so beautiful that the caretakers began to weep quietly. The glow across the dragon mother's scales grew brighter. Faint colors shimmered, hints of gold and silver and blue. The air was no longer heavy with sorrow. It was filled with hope. Myra laughed softly when the song ended. "She likes to sing with me," she said. Oren bowed his head. He felt humbled in a way he had never known. All his years of study had brought him knowledge, but this child had brought something greater. She had brought life back to the dragon mother with nothing more than kindness and a song. The caretakers looked to Oren, waiting for him to speak. But for once, the dragon master had no answer. He only watched as Myra leaned again against the dragon's warm scales, her eyes closing in peace. The cavern breathed with them. The mother was alive. The bond was real. And the song of breath had only begun. The cavern had changed. No longer was it silent and heavy. It was filled with warmth and the faint glow of color on the dragon mother's scales. The caretakers whispered to one another, still unable to believe what they were seeing. Oren stood in quiet thought, his lantern forgotten at his side. Myra sat close to the dragon mother, her hand resting on the smooth scale. She felt calm, as if she belonged there. The dragon's golden eyes stayed fixed on her, and again the deep hum began. This time the sound was gentler, like the rustle of wind through trees. Myra listened carefully. The hum carried images into her mind. She saw the dragon mother in a field of stars, her wings spread wide as she moved between glowing worlds. She saw other dragons flying beside her, their songs weaving together into one great harmony. Myra gasped softly. "She is showing me again," she whispered. The caretakers leaned closer, eager for her words. Oren took a step forward. His eyes never left Myra's face. "She says she was not gone," Myra continued. "She was resting in stillness. She needed time to heal." Myra's voice softened. She was waiting for someone who could remind her of the light. The caretakers bowed their heads. Some wiped tears from their eyes. To hear the truth of the dragon mother spoken in simple human words was more than they had ever dreamed. Oren felt a weight in his chest. For years, he had studied the songs, the rituals, the signs. Yet none of them had reached this truth. It came through the heart of a child. He struggled with pride, but slowly he let it go. The evidence was before him. The bond was real. The dragon mother's hum grew deeper, and Myra closed her eyes again. More visions filled her thoughts. She saw a sky where no stars shone, only silence. She felt the loneliness of the dragon mother drifting in that stillness, searching for a voice, a touch, a friend. Myra's heart ached. "You were lonely," she whispered. "You were waiting for someone to stay with you." The dragon gave a long sigh. The warm air brushed against Myra's hair, like a gentle answer. The caretakers trembled. They looked at Myra as if she was more than a child. Oren, however, saw her as she was, small and simple, yet carrying something powerful. He spoke carefully. "Myra, do you understand what this means? The dragon mother is speaking through you." Myra shook her head. "No. She is speaking to me. I am just listening." Her answer made Oren pause. He realized she was right. She was not acting as a master or a translator. She was only a friend. That was the difference. The dragon mother shifted again. Her wings unfolded a little, brushing dust from the stones. The cavern filled with soft light as her scales glimmered brighter. The caretakers bowed low to the ground, their voices shaking with awe. "She is returning," one whispered. "She is waking because of the child. This is a gift beyond measure." Myra turned to Oren. "She wants me to tell you something," she said. Oren held his breath. "What is it, child?" "She says humans carry warmth," Myra replied. "She says dragons waited for this warmth, the kind that is simple and true." The words echoed in the cavern. The caretakers murmured in wonder, repeating them softly. Oren felt humbled. Warmth, not knowledge or power, was what the dragons needed. It was so simple, yet so easily forgotten. Myra looked back at the dragon mother. The images in her mind softened. Now she saw nests filled with eggs, glowing faintly like lanterns in the dark. She saw young dragons stretching their wings for the first time. She felt joy and hope. "She dreams of her children," Myra whispered. "She wants them to fly again." The golden eyes blinked slowly, as if agreeing. Another hum rolled through the cavern, deeper than before, shaking the stones but not in anger. It was a song of promise. The caretakers raised their heads, tears shining on their faces. They felt they had been given a truth greater than any they had ever known. Oren stepped closer, his voice soft. "Myra, you must keep listening. You are the bridge. Through you, the dragon mother speaks again." But Myra only smiled. "I will stay with her. I do not want to be a bridge. I just want to be her friend." The dragon mother gave another sigh, warmer than before, like the breath of a gentle fire. The glow on her scales spread across her wings, and the cavern shone with colors of gold and silver. The caretakers bowed once more. Oren lowered his head, humbled and silent. In that moment, all of them understood the truth. The dragon mother was not lost. She had only been waiting. And it was not wisdom or ritual that called her back. It was a little human girl who brought warmth to her heart. The bond was real. The story of dragons was not ending. It was beginning again. The dragon mother's cavern was alive with warmth and light. Her chest rose steadily, and her wings shifted slowly, brushing the stone floor with soft whispers. The caretakers could not believe their eyes. They had come expecting silence and sorrow, yet they were witnessing life returning in a way none had imagined. Myra sat close to the dragon mother, her small hand resting on the shimmering scales. She felt the warmth beneath her fingers, steady and calm. The dragon's golden eyes followed her every move. Myra did not feel fear. She felt a connection that went deeper than words. Oren stepped forward carefully. "Myra," he said softly, "you have done something no one else could. You have helped her wake. But you must understand, the dragon mother is mighty. You must be careful around her." Myra shook her head, smiling. "I will be careful," she said. "I just want to help her feel happy again." The dragon mother gave a low hum, deep and rich, like the sound of distant mountains. Myra listened closely and hummed back. Their song filled the cavern, spreading warmth across every corner. The caretakers fell silent, letting the sound wrap around them. "This is extraordinary," one of them whispered. "A human child guiding a dragon's return." Oren did not speak. He only watched. He had studied dragons for many years, yet he had never seen anything like this. He realized now that knowledge alone was not enough. What mattered was trust, care, and heart. Myra had these in abundance. As the hours passed, the dragon mother moved more freely. Her wings stretched wide, and the faint glow on her scales grew stronger. The cavern seemed brighter with every breath she took. Myra laughed softly when a tiny gust of warm air brushed her face. "You are feeling better," she said. "I am glad." The dragon mother responded with a gentle hum, almost like a nod. Myra's heart swelled with joy. She felt proud, not because she had done something great, but because her friend was alive and happy again. Orin approached Myra carefully. "The dragon mother has chosen you," he said quietly. "Perhaps she wants you to stay with her, to guide her as she recovers." Myra thought for a moment. "I do not need to guide her," she said simply. "I just need to be with her. She feels safe when I am here. That is enough." Orin studied her face. There was wisdom in her words, though she was small. He realized that humans could understand things that even the Dragon Master could not. There was a gift in her kindness that no book or lesson could teach. The Dragon Mother shifted again, and the light on her scales spread fully across her wings. Myra reached out and touched one, feeling the power beneath her fingers. She smiled softly. "You are strong," she whispered. The Dragon Mother gave a soft hum in reply, the sound vibrating through the cavern. Myra's simple presence seemed to calm and strengthen her at the same time. The caretakers stared in awe. They had never imagined that a human could connect with a dragon in this way. Orin knelt beside Myra. "Do you understand what you are becoming?" he asked. Myra shook her head. "I am just a friend," she said. "I will stay with her and help her feel happy. That is all." The Dragon Mother's eyes blinked slowly, almost as if she understood. A gentle warmth filled the cavern, wrapping around everyone like a comforting blanket. The caretakers bowed their heads, humbled by the sight. Myra leaned against the Dragon Mother's nose, closing her eyes. The deep hum filled her chest. She felt a sense of purpose, not from power, but from care. She realized that sometimes the smallest hearts could make the greatest difference. Orin looked at her, his face softening. He had thought he understood dragons, but now he understood something greater. Humans, though small, could bring light and hope where none expected. A simple touch, a kind word, or a small song could awaken even the greatest of creatures. The Dragon Mother rose slightly, lifting her massive head. Her golden eyes scanned the cavern. Then she turned her gaze back to Myra, and her hum changed. It was deeper, richer, like a song of trust. Myra smiled and hummed back. Their harmony filled the cavern again. The caretakers listened silently, knowing they were witnessing the beginning of something new. Orin whispered softly, more to himself than anyone else, "Perhaps the Dragon Mother has found a new guardian." Myra did not understand the meaning of the word, but she did not need to. She only knew she would stay with her friend. She would be there whenever the Dragon Mother needed her. The cavern glowed brighter with every passing moment. The Dragon Mother's chest rose and fell steadily, her wings stretched wide, and her scales shone like gold and silver. Myra leaned closer and whispered, "I will stay with you. You are never alone again." The Dragon Mother hummed softly in reply, and the warmth in the cavern grew, filling the hearts of all who were there. In that moment, a bond was formed that would not break, a connection between a small human and the greatest dragon, stronger than anyone could imagine. The story of the Dragon Mother was no longer only about her strength. It was now about friendship, trust, and the simple power of a caring heart. The cavern glowed brighter than ever. The Dragon Mother stretched her wings wide, filling the space with shimmering light. Dust and small stones floated gently in the air, lifted by the quiet strength of her breath. The caretakers stood in awe, their eyes wide and mouths open. Orin held his lantern low, but its light was nothing compared to the glow of the dragon mother's scales. Myra stood close to her friend, her small hand resting on the smooth warm scale. She felt a deep joy, knowing that she had helped the dragon mother wake and find life again. The dragon's golden eyes focused on her, filled with trust and warmth. "Are you ready?" Myra whispered softly. The dragon mother gave a low hum that vibrated through the cavern. It was an answer full of trust. Myra nodded and climbed carefully onto the dragon's back. Her small feet rested on the soft scales near the base of the wings, and she held on gently to the ridges along the spine. The dragon shifted slightly, as if making space for her. The caretakers and Orin held their breath. They had never seen this before. A human child riding a dragon, the mightiest of all creatures, was a sight no one would forget. The dragon mother took a slow, deep breath. Her wings lifted, stretching high toward the cavern ceiling. Myra felt the power beneath her, steady and strong, yet calm and gentle. Then, with one smooth motion, the dragon mother rose into the air. The cavern seemed too small for such a giant being, but the dragon mother moved carefully, avoiding the walls. Dust and small stones swirled around them, sparkling in the light from her scales. Myra laughed with joy, holding on tightly. The wind from her friend's wings brushed her face. She felt free, flying with the dragon she had helped awaken. Orin and the caretakers watched in wonder. Years of study and training had never prepared them for this. They had thought dragons needed masters and rituals, but now they understood something greater. Humans could bring warmth and trust, and even the mightiest dragon would respond. The dragon mother climbed higher, leaving the cavern behind. Light from the crystals faded as she moved into the open sky. Myra could see mountains, rivers, and forests stretching far below. She had never imagined the world looked like this from above. She laughed again, pure and bright. The dragon mother turned her head slightly, looking at Myra. The golden eyes shone with affection and understanding. Myra reached out and touched the smooth scales of her neck. "I will always stay with you," she whispered. The dragon responded with a soft hum that carried across the air. It was a song of friendship and trust. Myra felt it deep in her heart. She realized that their bond was not only between them, but it connected all the creatures of the world. The dragon mother soared higher, gliding over clouds that shimmered with light from the setting sun. Myra leaned forward, feeling the wind rush past her. She could see the caretakers and Orin far below, still watching, still in awe. She waved at them, and the dragon dipped slightly so that they could see her clearly. "She is happy," Myra whispered. "She is finally free." Orin smiled softly, tears shining in his eyes. He had trained for years to understand dragons, but he now knew that no study could match the simple truth of a human heart. A child's curiosity, kindness, and courage had awakened the greatest dragon of all. The dragon mother circled above the mountains, her wings slicing through the air with grace and power. Myra held on and laughed with joy, feeling the strength and freedom of her friend. The golden eyes met hers again, and Myra felt that the dragon trusted her completely. After a long flight, the dragon mother landed gently on a high cliff. The ground trembled slightly, but Myra was safe. She slid off her friend's back and hugged the warm scales of the neck. The dragon lowered her head, touching Myra softly with her snout. "You are my friend," Myra whispered. "And I will always be with you." The dragon mother hummed deeply, a sound full of life and joy. The sunlight reflected off her scales in gold, silver, and blue. The sky seemed brighter, the world fuller, and the hearts of everyone who had seen this were lifted. Oren knelt on the ground, looking at the girl and the dragon. "She has chosen you," he said softly. "You are not just a child. You are the bridge between dragons and all beings." Myra laughed, shaking her head. "I am just a friend," she said simply. But Oren understood. Sometimes, the simplest hearts carry the greatest power. The bond between Myra and the dragon mother would change everything. As the wind whispered through the mountains, the dragon mother and Myra stood together, ready for new adventures. The story of dragons was no longer only about their strength. It was now about trust, friendship, and the simple power of a kind heart. The world below watched silently, and somewhere, far beyond the mountains, the song of breath carried across the skies. Myra smiled, holding the dragon mother's warm scales. Together, they soared into the horizon, a child and the greatest dragon, united forever. The story had a beginning, a middle, and now a glorious ending. But the journey of the dragon mother and Myra had only just begun.